Hello YouTube subscribers and YouTube people. This video is on migraines and specifically the type that I suffer from, which is hemiplegic migraines. They are a subtype of migraines that mimic the same symptoms that you would be having a stroke. Yes, you heard it. So anyway, right now I'm having like a classic migraine. There's lots of just pressure in my head. I've been having migraines for about 3 days now because the weather is shifting to a more warmer climate. It is currently going from like 45 degrees to 69 to back to 50 and then dropping back down to the 40s and then moving up to 65. And when it does that, it tends to just drive my neurological system crazy. So just like migraines tend to happen in waves with your vasodilation and vasoconstriction in your blood vessels. So the weather's going like this. So my philosophy on that is that when the weather is going like this, hot, cold, it's going to aggravate your brain and your system by aggravating the blood flow, vasoconstriction, and then vasodilation. So let's talk about migraines and what they are. So when you hear the word migraine, you're like, maybe the old commercial Excedrin, I've got a headache this big, So migraine is a neurological disease, actually. So it's a type of a headache, but it's a neurological disease, really. And about 12% of the population that we know of that have been diagnosed have migraine disorder. And think about the population that has not been diagnosed but have it. So 12% is just not a real number, but it's just the statistics that they have. So, like, they could be completely debilitating. Migraines are really, really common, but there's different kinds. Like, there's over 150 different kinds of headaches. And think about how many other kinds of headaches or neurological diseases such as migraines that haven't been discovered yet or haven't been named. So when it comes to neurological problems, you're going to have problems trying to pinpoint or diagnose or trying to figure out what you're evaluating. So dealing with the brain in general is just one wacky thing because our brain is like the most mysterious organ in our body, right? So things that can really cause your migraine to get worse are, I think, things that are really relatable to each individual. Like for myself, it's weather, and then also lights, and also scents. So like if somebody is wearing cologne or perfume and they're walking past me in the grocery store, I'm going to cover my mouth and I'm going to pray to God that I don't get a migraine, because cologne and perfume set me off and I will suffer a migraine. Same with fluorescent lights or LED lights. Movement, light, sound, and other triggers may cause symptoms like pain and tiredness, nausea, visual disturbances, Some people, like myself, get numbness and tingling, which is really scary. A lot of people get irritable, difficulty speaking, which is called speech dysphagia. Like, just like when you're experiencing a stroke, you lose your ability to speak correctly. That's dysphagia. Aphasia would be like no speaking. So like when I'm having a migraine, especially the kind that I get, which is hemiplegic migraines, I experience that speech dysphagia where somebody asks me what's my address, and I say my address 3497 Lane, Canterbury address. It's called word salad. When you know what you want to say, but you can't relay it to the other person because your brain is compromised through a neurological disease, hence the name migraine. So when you think of migraine, you're like, oh, it's just a headache. Or if you've never had one, you're like, okay, well, I've heard that word a million times. I've heard it on commercials. I've heard people say, well, I got to go home because I have a migraine. And you're like, oh my God, this person keeps on going home because they have a headache. Well, it's a complete different thing. So like I said before, a migraine is a neurological disease, and they have lots of different symptoms for each individual. So a lot of people get pulsing sensations, like pulsating pain, throbbing. It's classically on one side of your head and not two. The same with cluster headaches. Cluster headaches are classically on one side. But then again, everyone's different. So, that's the word classic. People's migraines usually get worse with physical activity, lights, being around weird smells, or sounds, like loud sounds. Like if you go to a concert, some people might not be able to handle that. Some migraines can last for hours or even days. And then there's been reports of people having like constant migraine, like severe chronic migraine, meaning not going away. Like they're constantly in migraine phase. So again, like 12% of all Americans have this disorder that are on the charts. I can't even imagine how many people with migraines don't even know that they have migraines, and therefore they're not diagnosed. So, and also research actually says that it's the 6th most disabling disease in the whole entire world. So don't feel alone, especially because if you're listening to this because you're having a migraine, I'm also experiencing migraine symptoms right now, and it's not easy to function throughout the day. Not easy at all. Oh, I think my face looks better like that, like the facelift look. Let's just hold it like this for a minute. It actually feels good. Take a deep breath. Okay. Yeah, my head feels like crap right now, but I'm doing this video like today because I'm experiencing these symptoms today. So I just really want to reach out. So another thing about migraines is that like there's different kinds of headaches, and headaches are divided into 2 different types. There's primary headaches and then there's secondary headaches. So migraines are primary headaches because they aren't caused by another disease or pathology. They're their own entity. As secondary headaches, you can say, well, this headache is a secondary headache because it's caused by diabetes, or it's caused by anorexia, or whatever. So it's a primary headache, and that means also that you can't just get a blood test and say, oh yes, you have a migraine. That doesn't work that way. A lot of migraines present with an aura. So an aura is something that affects your sensory, speech and motor abilities, and they act as a warning sign that says, okay, you're ready to like have a migraine. There's a lot of people that haven't had sensory auras or visual auras yet, and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to call 911 because I think I'm having a stroke or a seizure. They're mostly misinterpreted as that when it's actually the migraine doing it. Sometimes the brain can present a migraine with pain, and sometimes it doesn't. So you might be like, oh my goodness, I'm having like all these strange symptoms, but I'm not having any pain. What's wrong with me? Well, that's the migraine. It's all different kinds of variations of it, which are mostly called variants. And also the aura itself can last usually in between 10 to 60 minutes. So for 60 minutes, you can be sitting there seeing all these prisms and rainbow looking things and distortions. And it's absolutely terrible because I too get the visual aura, and I'll talk about my own personal migraine experience after I'm done prefacing the basic foundations and what you need to know about migraine first. So aura symptoms can be treated, reversed, or stopped. They produce symptoms that are very strange, that you would see like somebody's tripping on acid. I mean, it's that crazy. So like you can see bright lights, bright dots, sparkles, lights. The best interpretation I can give you for people that don't understand this is if you took a diamond and you know how like, or even like a sequin, and you go and shine light on it, and on the walls you'll have like those little dots from the diamond's reflection. That's what you see when you get the visual aura for a migraine. That is the best interpretation I can give to you. I'm like choking on my own saliva. I'm such a nerd. Excuse me, I need to drink my water. Ugh. And water is a wonderful thing to have when you have migraines. You don't want to get dehydrated because that can also become a trigger and problematic for you. So aura symptoms can include temporary vision loss. You can have like this funny feeling or like this euphoric feeling in your brain, and you start to recognize that after each migraine. You can have ringing in your ears. You can have numb or tingling skin. You can actually have like a whole limb that goes numb, which I've had happen to myself. My arm just went completely dead. You can have blind spots in your vision. You can have these jagged lines in your vision. I mean, like, this is like totally trippy stuff, right? And also speech changes. Like I said, the dysphagia, like I would say to you, migraine not having today, so help me, cannot see today, tomorrow, help doctor now. Like that would be like how my speech would be coming out if I was having an active hemiplegic migraine. Different kinds of migraines present themselves in different ways and also have various and multifaceted symptoms that aren't present in other kinds of migraines. Also, you can have like you're more thirsty, or you're more hungry, or you're not hungry, or you just know, like you start to know your patterns with your migraines. The types of migraines are there's a lot of them, but there's like migraine with aura, which is called a complicated migraine. That's 15 to 20% of people with the migraine headaches experience an aura. Then you have migraine without the aura, which is a common migraine. So right now I'm experiencing a common migraine. Like I'm like this, and I'm like, oh, you know, I just get the headache and I don't have the aura, right? I'm not seeing like these trippy little stars or anything. Then we have migraine without head pain. And it's like called a silent migraine. And it's like kind of weird because you're like, okay, I'm getting symptoms, you know, but I'm not feeling any pain. And then we have the hemiplegic migraine, which I get, and it's very rare, and you experience temporary paralysis, right? So let's look at the name. Like hemi in medical terminology means like one side, right? So hemi, not the truck Hemi engine, right? Hemiplegic migraine. So pelegia, pelegic, you know, not being able to feel something, or paralysis. So we put that together and you get the hemiplegic migraine, and that is the kind of migraine that I experience probably 99% of the time. I've been lucky this week. I've only been having the migraine with aura, or I'm sorry, migraine without aura. Thank God, because I just I get really scared. Okay. Then there's the retinal migraine, which is also called the ocular migraine. I'm like having trouble like just talking today because my head hurts so bad. You can have temporary vision loss or partial, and you can have like a dull headache behind your eye that could spread to the rest of your head. So it's not necessarily always on one side, right? And it can either last for a minute or actually months. Like you can be in a stage where it's lasting for months. When you have the eye issues and the ocular issues with your migraines, you really want to make sure you seek your primary physician and just let them know that that's happening, because it could be signs of more serious issues. And then we have chronic migraine, and that's when your migraines last like, I think like 15 days per month. So if you're getting migraines that are 15 days per month, then you are a chronic migrainer. If not, then that you don't meet the criteria, which is sad because in certain cases, I mean, like, it's disabling. So, I mean, I don't think they'll give you disability unless you meet the criteria as a chronic migrainer. And then you do have to really lie about the frequency of your migraines. So, again, I'm having a really bad headache. Then we have like migraine with brainstem aura, and this one I believe I've had before. You'll have like very bad vertigo, which I've been having for past week. That means dizziness. And then you'll have maybe double vision or loss of balance, and then slurred speech. You'll notice like throughout my videos, I have a hard time pronouncing things sometimes, and then I'll like completely say something incorrectly when I know how to say it. And I think that after each migraine that I have, I actually lose my ability to hold my vocabulary correctly and deliver my speech the way that I need to in a professional context, if that makes sense. The brainstem is very scary because that's where your little centers for everything that we need to live basically is back there. Not getting into detail because I do not want to scare anybody, but migraine with brainstem aura is a more rare one. I think that head injuries or like neck injuries can actually make it a lot worse or actually create the problem. I've had neck injuries and head injuries and facial injuries, and you name it, I've had it. So it's the symptoms occur suddenly, and usually has like, you get like a sick feeling, nausea, vomiting. It could be associated with, again, speech dysphagia. So it's very hard to kind of differentiate between the hemiplegic migraine and then the migraine with brainstem. See, I just said that. Brainstem aura. I'm not from the South, and sometimes my speech just comes out like that. And then you have status migrainosus, which is a rare and severe type of migraine that can last longer than 72 hours. This headache and pain and nausea can be extremely bad for an individual. But that's probably somebody who needs to be hospitalized for the migraine. So there's different stages of migraine. You have your prodrome, which is when, you know, your body's getting ready for the migraine and getting ready for the aura stage, which is number 2. So aura is number 2. And then the next stage after that is the actual headache. Like I said before, sometimes you don't present, or the migraine won't present with the headache, but that's number 3. And then number 4 is the postdrome. And this stage can last for a day or 2. And it's like also known as like a migraine hangover. And 80% of people that suffer from migraines have this phase of postdrome. So who can get migraines? Anyone can get a migraine. Can children get migraines? Yes, they can get migraines. Genetics is huge, like big time. My son is 18 and he's been suffering from the same migraines that I have, but yet he has like a more intense migraine with vomiting. And 80% of people who get migraines usually are genetically linked to the disease. So I hope that helped you a little bit, and part 2 will be about my migraines and my personal experience. Thank you.